have a dual nature. On one hand, I can be charming and personable. It's a skill that served me well, especially in running my chain of convenience stores. But on the other hand, if someone crosses me, they'll soon find out I can be quite the opposite, vindictive and ruthless. Let me paint you a picture of one such incident from my rugby days. I used to play as a lock, one of the tall, agile players positioned in the second row of the scrum. During one match, as I leaped to catch the ball, I was blindsided by a deliberate hit from the opposing team's number 1. The impact was brutal, shattering my shoulder and leaving me with a slight concussion. Despite the severity of the foul, the referee ruled it as accidental. Frustratingly, the player responsible had the audacity to smile at me afterward, as if gloating over his deceit. That moment of betrayal fueled a burning desire for revenge within me. And when the opportunity presented itself, I didn't hesitate to strike back. It was during a scrum that I enacted my plan. As the opposing team's number 1 held possession of the ball, I strategically maneuvered beneath him, disrupting his balance and causing a chain reaction that resulted in another player breaking their arm. Though I made sure to leave my mark, receiving cleat marks on my face and neck in the process, the referees remained oblivious to my calculated retaliation. This incident illustrates a fundamental aspect of my character. I don't take betrayal lightly. While I'm not one to seek out vendettas, I firmly believe in holding others accountable for their actions. It's a principle that extends beyond the rugby field and permeates every aspect of my life, including my business ventures. Speaking of which, running a chain of convenience stores isn't just about profits and margins for me. It's about maintaining a sense of fairness and integrity. That's why I take great care to ensure that my employees are well compensated and provided with incentives to discourage theft. By offering significant discounts and allowing them to take expired food for personal use, I aim to eliminate any temptation to engage in dishonest behavior. Furthermore, my keen eye for detail serves me well in detecting any irregularities at the cash register. Through diligent monitoring of sales trends and financial transactions, I'm able to identify discrepancies and address them promptly. It's this meticulous attention to detail that has contributed to the profitability and success of my stores. In essence, whether it's on the rugby field or in the business world, I operate by a simple code: treat others fairly, but never forget a betrayal. It's a lesson that anyone who crosses me learns the hard way. In my line of work, running a chain of convenience stores, I've learned to be attentive to the smallest details. It's a skill that has served me well, both on and off the rugby field. You see, despite my affable demeanour, there's a part of me that can be quite calculating and even vindictive if crossed. Take, for instance, that incident during a rugby match where I sustained a serious injury due to a deliberate foul. It was a moment that ignited a fire within me, a desire for retribution. But unlike the impulsive actions one might expect on the field, I approached it with a methodical mindset. After the game, I didn't immediately lash out. Instead, I bided my time, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike back. And when it came, during another match, I executed my plan flawlessly. By subtly disrupting the opposing team's play, I indirectly caused one of their players to suffer an injury. It was a move that went unnoticed by the referees but left a lasting impact. Off the field, my attention to detail extends beyond the game of rugby. I'm meticulous when it comes to managing my business affairs, particularly the financial aspect. So when I noticed unusual activity in our joint bank account, with my wife withdrawing significant sums of money, I couldn't ignore it. Now, let me make one thing clear. I trust my wife implicitly. Our relationship is built on a foundation of love and mutual respect. But as someone who values transparency and accountability, I felt compelled to investigate further. Was there a legitimate reason for her withdrawals, or was something more sinister at play? Rather than confront her outright, I decided to gather evidence discreetly. With the stores running smoothly and my office work well managed, I had the luxury of time to plan my next move. I took a stroll down the main street, my mind abuzz with possibilities. As luck would have it, I stumbled upon a phone store promoting a program to back up phone numbers onto a computer. It was a simple yet ingenious solution to my problem. With this program, I could discreetly access the data on my wife's phone and ascertain the nature of her withdrawals. That afternoon, I installed the program on our home computer and approached my wife with a proposition. I explained the benefits of backing up her phone's data, framing it as a precautionary measure against potential phone failures. She was initially hesitant, but my reassurances put her at ease. Reluctantly, she handed over her phone, allowing me to begin the process of transferring her data. As I created a folder to store her information, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt for betraying her trust. But my desire for clarity outweighed any feelings of remorse. In the end, it wasn't about suspicion or distrust. It was about seeking the truth, no matter the cost. And if that meant delving into her personal affairs, then so be it. For better or worse, it was a path I was willing to tread in pursuit of justice and clarity. In the intricate web of my life, every thread is meticulously woven and every move carefully calculated. It's a trait that serves me both in the cutthroat world of business and the unpredictable realm of personal relationships. Allow me to peel back the layers and divulge the intricate details of my endeavours. Following that fateful rugby match where treachery left me wounded, I didn't react impulsively. No, I bided my time, letting the flames of resentment smoulder beneath the surface until the perfect moment arose. It was during another match that the opportunity presented itself, a chance to settle the score without drawing undue attention. With a calculated move, I indirectly orchestrated an injury on the opposing team, a subtle yet satisfying act of retribution. Off the field, my attention turned to the curious case of my wife's financial activities. While I trust her implicitly, my keen eye for irregularities couldn't ignore the significant withdrawals from our joint account. I believe in transparency, in laying all the cards on the table, so I embarked on a discreet investigation. I meticulously installed a program on our home computer under the guise of safeguarding her phone data. As my wife busied herself with mundane tasks, I surreptitiously copied her files and emailed them to myself, ensuring that every move was shrouded in secrecy. With her phone numbers safely stored on my computer, I delved into the digital realm, scrutinizing each entry for any signs of deceit. And there it was, glaring back at me, the name Steve Riley, a rival in both business and sport. A pang of betrayal pierced my heart as I realized the depth of her deception. But I am not one to leap to conclusions hastily. No, I prefer to gather evidence meticulously, to leave no stone unturned in my pursuit of truth. Thus, I resolved to employ the services of a seasoned investigator, one with the expertise to unearth the secrets hidden in the shadows. After careful consideration, I opted for a private investigator from a neighbouring town, a former law enforcement officer with a reputation for tenacity. I entrusted him with the task of uncovering the extent of my wife's indiscretions, providing him with a generous down payment as a testament to my commitment to justice. As I awaited the results of the investigation, I stumbled upon an opportunity that seemed destined to alter the course of my life. A quaint gas station operated by an elderly couple on the brink of retirement. In their weathered faces and tired eyes, I saw a reflection of my own aspirations for a peaceful, leisurely existence. Determined to ensure that they received fair compensation for their years of toil, I encouraged them to seek an appraisal of their business's true worth. It was a small gesture, perhaps, but one imbued with integrity and compassion, a reminder that beneath my steely exterior lay a heart capable of empathy and kindness. And so, as the wheels of fate turned and the pieces of my intricate puzzle fell into place, I remained steadfast in my pursuit of justice and fairness. For in a world rife with deceit and betrayal, it is the steadfast adherence to principles that sets one apart. And though my path may be fraught with challenges, I shall navigate it with unwavering resolve, for such is the essence of who I am, a man of calculated actions and unwavering principles. After receiving the initial batch of evidence from the private investigator, I felt a mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, and a tinge of sadness. The photos depicted Sharon in seemingly innocent situations with both Steve and Jim, but the implications were clear. I needed concrete proof to confront her, something that would leave no room for doubt. I authorized the investigator to continue his surveillance, providing him with the necessary funds to delve deeper into Sharon's activities. Each passing day felt like an eternity as I awaited his findings, grappling with the realization that my marriage was on the brink of collapse. In the interim, I carried on with my daily routines, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy despite the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. Sharon appeared oblivious to the storm gathering on the horizon, her demeanor unchanged as we went about our daily lives. Our intimate moments, though not lacking in physicality, felt hollow, devoid of the emotional connection that once bound us together. I couldn't shake the feeling of disillusionment, knowing that our relationship was built on a foundation of lies and deceit. As the days turned into weeks, the investigator finally delivered the evidence I had been eagerly anticipating. Detailed surveillance reports revealed clandestine meetings between Sharon and both Steve and Jim, providing irrefutable proof of her infidelity. Armed with this damning evidence, I knew it was time to set my plan in motion. With Sharon's period approaching, I seized the opportunity to implement a subtle yet effective strategy to expose her indiscretions. I carefully prepared chili juice and discreetly injected her tampons with a hint of wintergreen, hoping to catch her off guard. Meanwhile, my encounters with Steve on the soccer field took on a new significance. His smug demeanor and attempts to provoke me only fueled my determination to confront him head-on. Despite his best efforts to undermine me, I remained steadfast, biding my time until the perfect moment presented itself. Finally, during a heated game, I seized the opportunity to assert my dominance. With my rugby-honed skills, I outmaneuvered Steve at every turn, frustrating his attempts to best me on the field. A well-timed tap to his ankle and an accidental collision left him visibly shaken, serving as a stark reminder of the consequences of his actions. As the pieces of my meticulously crafted plan fell into place, I braced myself for the inevitable confrontation that lay ahead. With the truth finally laid bare, there would be no turning back, no room for reconciliation. The time had come to confront Sharon and Steve, to confront the betrayal that threatened to tear my world apart. During the next rugby game, my teammates rallied behind me, recognizing the injustice of Riley's actions. As he lunged for a tackle, I anticipated his move and let him charge ahead before attempting to clear the ball. In his haste, Riley's foot landed precisely where my ankle should have been, colliding with my boot. The sickening sound of his knee twisting in the wrong direction echoed across the field, a gratifying moment amidst the chaos. His agonized screams filled the air as he crumpled to the ground, clutching his injured knee. Though I apologized profusely, my teammates showed little sympathy, knowing full well Riley's malicious intent. Meanwhile, back at home, Sharon had unknowingly become entangled in my calculated scheme. The effects of the chili juice I had applied to her panties and tampons were starting to take their toll. Discomfort etched across her face, she endured the unpleasant sensations for days before reluctantly seeking medical attention. The doctor, oblivious to the true cause, prescribed a soothing cream, which Sharon discreetly stashed away in her purse. Upon her return from the doctor's office, Sharon found me brooding on the couch, a storm of emotions brewing within me. Accusing me of infidelity and exposing her to a sexually transmitted infection, she demanded answers. With a calm yet steely demeanour, I handed her a meticulously compiled dossier of evidence, courtesy of the private investigator. Each incriminating detail laid bare the truth of her betrayal, leaving her stunned and speechless. In a whirlwind of disbelief and desperation, Sharon began packing her belongings, her once confident facade crumbling before my eyes. As she hastily stuffed her possessions into garbage bags, I watched with a mix of vindication and sorrow. Despite the deceit and heartache, a part of me still mourned the loss of what could have been. With her departure, the house fell silent, the weight of her betrayal lingering in the air. Alone with my thoughts, I sank into the recliner, a cold beer in hand, contemplating the tumultuous turn of events. Though the sting of betrayal gnawed at my heart, I found solace in the certainty that I had remained true to myself amidst the chaos. After discovering Sharon's infidelity, my world turned upside down. The betrayal hit me like a ton of bricks, and in an instant, our shared memories and dreams seemed to shatter. I spent the night trying to drown the hurt with alcohol, hoping to find solace at the bottom of a bottle. Yet, surprisingly, the expected debilitating hangover never came the next morning, thanks to my usual physical fitness. Despite the ache in my heart, my body refused to succumb to the expected aftermath of my drinking spree. Dragging myself to work, I tried to immerse myself in the routine tasks that awaited me. But the shadow of my personal turmoil loomed large, making it difficult to focus. I knew I needed to talk to someone who could offer professional advice, so I arranged a meeting with my lawyer to discuss my options. It wasn't just about the legal steps. I needed to understand how to navigate the emotional quagmire I found myself in. My employees quickly picked up on my distressed state. In a workplace where camaraderie was as much a part of the day as the tasks at hand, my mood did not go unnoticed. Concerned, they sent John to talk to me. Jean was more than just an employee. She was the heart and soul of our team, a woman who had lived through enough to offer wisdom and support in times of need. She didn't waste time with pleasantries, knowing all too well that something serious was amiss. When I confessed about Sharon's affairs and my subsequent actions, Jean listened without judgment. Yet her response was not what I expected. Instead of fueling my anger or suggesting retaliation, she offered perspective that shook me to my core. Jean pointed out the contradiction in my actions. Here I was, a respected businessman known for fairness and integrity, yet ready to spiral into a cycle of vengeance because of personal betrayal. It was a wake-up call. She reminded me of my responsibilities, not just to my employees and customers, but to myself. It was time to grow up, to move beyond proving myself through confrontations or physical prowess. Her words struck a chord. I realized that my identity had been tied up in being the best, in business, in sports, even in personal conflicts. But what? Had that cost me? My marriage was in ruins, and for what? A fleeting sense of victory. John's advice was clear. It was time to let go of the vendetta and focus on building a life worth living. Taking her advice to heart marked a turning point for me. I began to see the potential for a life defined not by what I could take from others in revenge, but by what I could build for myself and those around me. My business was thriving, but it was time to enjoy the fruits of my labor in a more meaningful way, perhaps even open myself up to love again, without the shadow of past betrayals looming over me. John's visit was a catalyst for change, a moment that forced me to confront the reality of my situation and the choices I faced. It wasn't just about moving on from Sharon. It was about redefining who I was and what I wanted my life to stand for. In the end, the decision was mine to make, and I chose to step into a future unburdened by the need for retribution, ready to embrace whatever came next with an open heart and a clear mind. Discovering Sharon's infidelity was like a punch in the gut. It felt as if everything I believed in, all the trust I had in our relationship, came crashing down around me. I spent that night drowning my sorrows in alcohol, hoping to numb the pain that was tearing me apart inside. Surprisingly, the next morning, I woke up without the expected crippling hangover, perhaps a testament to my physical fitness. Yet the weight of betrayal still hung heavy on my heart. Going to work felt like navigating a stormy sea. I tried to bury myself in the familiar routine of tasks and responsibilities, but the turmoil in my mind made it almost impossible to concentrate. Deep down, I knew I needed guidance on how to navigate this emotional storm, so I arranged a meeting with my lawyer to discuss my options. It wasn't just about the legal ramifications of Sharon's actions. I needed someone to help me make sense of the chaos that had engulfed my life. My co-workers, sensing my distress, sent Jean, a trusted member of our team, to check on me. Jean was more than just a colleague, she was a beacon of wisdom and support in our workplace. Sitting across from her, I poured out my heart, confessing Sharon's betrayal and my own tumultuous reaction to it. Instead of judgment or condemnation, Jean offered me a perspective that I sorely needed. She pointed out the contradiction in my behaviour. Despite being known for fairness and integrity in my professional life, I was on the verge of succumbing to the temptation of revenge in my personal life. Her words struck a chord deep within me, forcing me to confront the misalignment between my values and actions. Jean reminded me of my responsibilities, not just to others but also to myself. It was a wake-up call to mature and rise above the urge for retribution. As Jean's words sank in, I began to reassess my priorities and values. I realized that my identity should not be defined by the battles I fought or the victories I won, but by the integrity with which I conducted myself in all aspects of life. It was time to let go of the need for vengeance and focus on building a future grounded in authenticity and compassion. Taking John's advice to heart, I made a conscious decision to release myself from the shackles of bitterness and resentment. Instead, I chose to embrace the opportunity for growth and renewal, to forge a path forward that was defined by forgiveness and self-discovery. In doing so, I found the strength to move beyond the pain of betrayal and embrace the promise of a brighter tomorrow.